4,000 years before anyone thought to plant a single grain, hungry cavemen were munching on crispy discs of flatbread? That's right. You are Grug, and you're about to discover how our ancient ancestors stumbled on the idea of bread while trying to avoid starvation. Picture it: hot sun, belly rumbling, no microwave, no delivery apps, just Grug and his friends, living the ultimate paleo lifestyle. Food? Hard to find. And when it was found, it usually meant running from something with teeth, fangs, or a serious grudge. Whoever said the struggle is real didn't know about hunting for dinner while dodging the angry woolly mammoths. Seriously, imagine trying to swipe right on a cute cavewoman while a mammoth is charging you. Now, you'd think the flashy part of survival would be the hunting and gathering. Nope. It was all about the accidents. Like, whoops, I spilled my mashed wild grain on a rock. Better eat it. That's how we got the oldest known bread, discovered in Jordan, crafted at least 4,000 years before anyone had a clue how to plant crops. Talk about your accidental culinary masterpieces. Grug, know what you're thinking: how does this bread thing even happen? Well, the leading theory is wild. Picture this: a caveman tossed some wet grain mash onto a hot rock, fully expecting a disaster, and instead, he sizzled his way into history. Then, in a moment that could only exist in a caveman's life, someone said, "Hey, instead of throwing that away, let's eat it." And boom! Delicious flatbread was born. So, in a way, we owe the invention of bread to one guy's messy kitchen. Grug bets he didn't even have a good cleanup plan. But here's the crazy part: this was as much a mystery as Grug's love life. These early burger gurus had zero recognition for their culinary achievement. Yay! We have bread. Now let's go farm. No, my friend, they never even thought about it. These hunters were just too busy being, well, hunters. It's like finding out someone invented online dating and then saying, "Nah, I'm gonna just keep playing hard to get." So, before you go thinking these early humans were genius chefs, let's dive into the side effects of their groundbreaking bread venture. First of all, there were no bagels. None. Just flat discs of primal goodness, which basically means if you wanted variety, you had to get creative. Ever try making a sandwich with 2 pieces of flatbread? Grug do not recommend: too much filling potential, too little structure. That's like trying to date someone who borrows your clothes. It's a disaster waiting to happen, buddy. Now, the second surprise is just how close to disaster early humans got. One mistake, and that delicious flatbread could have caught fire. Remember, these guys were not living in a world of just husking sweet corn. No, they were happily unaware of things like controlled burns or safety regulations. Just think of it, Grug and co. trying to eat their glory of charred flatbread while avoiding being roasted like marshmallows. Oops, my bad. Just offered my friend a crispy snack and it turned into a barbecue. And don't forget cultural differences. While Grug and friends were tossing wild grain mash around, other cultures were doing their own crazy experiments. Some were mixing their flatbread with glorious toppings, while others were probably using it as a mosaic for cave art. Fancy. And, naturally, the competition would get fierce. My flatbread is better than your flatbread, and here's my painting of a mammoth to prove it. But here's the kicker: most of these hunter-gatherers were clueless as to what they were really making. Imagine stumbling upon chocolate and thinking, "Yum. This must be lump of sweet dirt." Grug can confirm this is not a good approach to life. So, let me count them down, all the ways these ancient bakers were practically inventing chaos in their pursuit of sustenance. Number 5, they weren't counting calories. Grug see stacks of flatbread vanish faster than last week's leftovers. Hundreds of rounds of flatbread made them full, but they had no idea about portion control. Just like modern-day buffet lovers who say, "One more plate won't hurt." Spoiler alert, yes, it will. Number 4, some guys were probably dipping their bread in, well, some pretty questionable things. Grug imagine, "This looks weird, but let's try it." Whoa. It tastes like mammoth sweat. Not the best culinary discovery moment. But they were just learning, just like how Grug learns that dating apps can be both delicious and disgusting. Number 3, the toppings. No cheese on the flatbread, no marinara sauce. Unbelievable. Just dry, weedy discs. So, if you think your next relationship drama over a missed dinner reservation is bad, just imagine how these cavemen felt reaching for a rock slab of flatbread, again. I swear this tastes better than last week. It can't be stale if I eat it fast enough, right? Number 2, cleaning up after that bread fail limited their hunting routes. Nothing says dinner like chasing down a fleeing woolly mammoth for dinner while your buddies are back at camp arguing over breadcrumbs. You're not getting bread crust this time. It's my turn. Grug hereby protests such poor work distribution. And at number 1, drumroll, please, even with all the glorious triumphs of early flatbread, there was still no pizza. Grug say this is a crying shame. Forget about what's for dinner? For these guys, it was more will we survive dinner? But here's the crazy part, all that bread and no farm nonsense paved the way for one of humanity's most delicious inventions. Fast forward a few thousand years, and now people devote entire religions to the art of bread making. That's right, we've come full circle thanks to that one hapless caveman who spilled his wild grain mash. So remember, folks, next time you enjoy a slice of artisanal bread or smash that crusty baguette, think of the man who started it all with an accidental hot rock and a serious lack of kitchen knowledge. And just like Grug trying to grill a woolly mammoth, remember, sometimes the best things in life come from the best accidents. Stay curious, friends. Until next time, who knows what other ancient foods Grug will stumble upon. Hopefully, it won't involve flames or mysterious wild grains. Now, what's for dinner? No way that's real, but hey, at least Grug finally didn't burn down the cave. So, let's get back to these early bread enthusiasts. Picture them, just a bunch of hungry cavemen with their grain mash and hopes. They had no idea they were starting a food revolution. It's like if someone accidentally invented TikTok while trying to figure out how to convey feelings without a sharp rock. Now, Grug might sound like a food critic, but believe me, this first flatbread was that first splash of innovation in an otherwise wild world. It must have been thrilling. Look. This rock is hot. Let's cook stuff. But the real questions arise, how long would that enthusiasm last before someone mistook a sizzled snack for a flaming disaster? It was a whole new frontier. Speaking of disaster, let's talk about the bread preservation problem. In a world where mold was a thing but baking wasn't quite a talent, bread didn't keep well. Imagine Grug walking around with a prehistoric baguette that goes stale faster than a bad first date. Grug thought he was scoring points with Cavewoman but accidentally offered her a snack that could break a tooth. Adventures in ancient dating included romantic dinners with hardened bread that could double as a weapon. It's a wonder people even dated at all. But here's the thing, when the bread went stale, did they throw it out? Absolutely not. Enter the glorious caveman solution, flatbread became a multi-tool of sorts. They used the stale bread as a plate or as, believe it or not, a spongy weapon. Picture a confused mammoth thinking, what's this flying disc? Is it dinner? Or am I the meal? Grug can almost see the prehistoric warriors practicing their flatbread frisbee skills. And just when you think it couldn't get crazier, did you know some cultures found a way to resurrect old bread? They had methods akin to putting last week's leftovers in the microwave. They'd soak the stale bread in water, hoping to bring it back to life. Grug wish he could do this dating, hey, you wanna go out next week on a second chance? I'll rehydrate some old bread for you. Romantic, right? But wait, bread was also more than sustenance. It became a social glue, gatherings centered around sharing this flat, crispy treasure. Remember, break bread wasn't just about food, it was about community. A good flatbread could lead to unexpected connections and maybe even those awkward moments trying to impress your crush. Hey, cavewoman. Want some home-baked flatbread? Falls face first into the fire. As Grug dives deeper into these ancient bread tales, you got to understand that regional spices were non-existent at this time. Sure, these early bakers were playing with combinations of grains, but spices were the stuff of dreams. Can you imagine making bread and thinking, you know what would really spice things up? A pinch of spice that will never exist for another 3,000 years. Nope. Just the basic grain mash and way too much hope. If only they had thought outside the flatbread box. And now, let's not forget about bread tech. You know, the tools of the primitive trade. Think of the advancements that led away from making flatbread on just any old hot rock. Seriously, you think our cavemen had sophisticated kitchen gadgets? Nope. They were probably using the same rock for everything. Grug can grind grain, tap cavewoman's shoulder, and sharpen spear on the same stone. Talk about multitasking. But as bread started to evolve, innovations began, like pottery. Enter ancient bowls. Do you think our legends went from here, grab this hot rock to check out my new bowl? They could mix grain mash. Grug can already see the disappointment when they realize that mixing things doesn't always yield tasty results. Grug, I swear this flatbread won't leave me flat on my back in front of cavewoman. As bread making spread, different cultures started doing things differently. While Grug's village was shaping basic discs, Mesopotamians were getting fancy with their dough. They had large ovens. This is where the group effort kicked in. Grug see cave brother and cousin bringing massive rocks to heat the oven. It must have been an ancient grill party, like a cooking competition gone rogue. Can't you just picture cavemen tossing dough like a pizza chef while discussing the pros and cons of round against flat? Now let's talk yeast. That magical ingredient that was too far in the future for our cave dwellers. No rise, no fluff, just dense little discs of reality. Grug cannot help but laugh when he thinks about how those ancient bakers would have reacted to fresh-baked bread puffs today. My bread is flat. Not knowing that if they introduced yeast, they would have become the talk of the ancient town. Forget hunting, replace your vision with baking. But here's the crazy part, as communities formed, folks got creative with these flat creations. Some even crafted some sort of soup or stew, using the bread to dunk into an early version of broth. You better believe Grug wasn't going to waste a good flatbread by itself. Grug eat again. This time with liquid. Grug can't comprehend why cavemen didn't start figuring out drinks to go with their meals. Maybe it was the fear of weird stuff from streams or the knowledge that water can be cold. Grug knows, take it with caution, especially when you can have stale flatbread. And let's return to food anthropology for a moment. The impact of bread went beyond sustenance. It shaped trade routes, economies, and even induced some pretty deep dives into social status. Think about it. I have bread, you have wool. Now let's barter. Who knew that the simple ability to bake flatbread could lead to the first caveman markets? Grug would hit the stalls and try bargaining for a good bowl of stew. But here's the kicker, those early communities didn't just carve their destiny with flat discs, they completely revolutionized food history. Imagine if one day instead of flatbread, it was some other wacky invention like smashed mammoth steak on a rock. Grug could just see it now. Hold up, let's not skip the flatbread. As bread evolved through the ages, it became a staple, a comfort food for generations. So, if you ever find yourself enjoying a fluffy sourdough or crumbly baguette, remember the caveman who accidentally made history with wet grain on a rock. What a way to start a legacy! So next time Grug is in the kitchen, trying to recreate that flatbread experience he read about, and it all goes sideways again, he'll remember history. It's all about exploring the messiness of things. Because hey, made from scratch or calling for delivery, it's all about the joys of discovery, just like the original bread makers knew so long ago. Stay curious, friends. Until next time, Grug hopes to drop more ancient knowledge, so keep your eyes peeled for the next food mishap from history. Who knows, maybe Grug will finally learn how to make delicious bread without fire hazards. Now, what's for dinner? Maybe something flat, but hopefully not so chaotic.